The Super Smash Bros. Series has been one of, if not the most influential game series in my life. Some of my earliest gaming memories are with Smash Bros. Melee, playing with my friends and family, trying to unlock all the characters, struggling to complete all the event matches, trying really hard, and failing to make it to Giga Bowser on Adventure Mode. Like, I've known the Smash Bros. Games for as long as I've known my own existence, and they hold such a special place in my heart, as they do for countless others. I mean, these games are the epitome of special. They're not just fighting games or party games. The Smash Bros. Series is a celebration of video games and their history, and that sentiment has grown and become more apparent with each installment. When a new Smash Bros. Game is coming out, the excitement and anticipation around it is unlike anything else in the gaming landscape. Everyone, and I mean everyone, is dropping whatever they're doing to watch the newest Nintendo Direct just for the possibility of seeing a new character reveal trailer. It is not just a video game, it is an event. It is a level of hype that I have not seen with any other game. It really makes you grateful that you were born in a time where you could experience something like this, where gaming worlds collide to make for a truly one-of-a-kind staple in Nintendo's catalog. I'd say the series as it is today really started to take form with the reveal of Sonic and Snake for Smash Bros. Brawl in 2008, which was groundbreaking, and it just snowballed into what we have today with Smash Ultimate. I just want you to take a second and really digest this image. How is this real? I don't even know how Nintendo and Masahiro Sakurai, the director of the Smash games, were even able to pull off something like Smash Bros. Ultimate, with all the different licensing and negotiation hurdles that had to have come with some of these IPs. Like, I really don't know how Ultimate can be topped, and I'm not sure of the direction the series will take from here, which brings us to the topic of this video. So, welcome back to the channel, or if this is your first time here, welcome. Thanks for your time, and please be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying the content. Let's get into it. So, we are officially in the Switch 2 era of games. The new console has been out for a little bit now, and we have a bunch of video games to be excited about. We finally have a new Mario Kart, we have a Curveball 3D Donkey Kong, a new Metroid Prime, a new Pokemon Legends, a new Kirby Air Ride coming out over 20 years after the original, and, what is still a shock to me, a Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive From Software game, The Dusk Bloods. And, of course, you really thought I forgot about it, but I didn't. It's the one we've all been chomping at the bit for, Dragon Drive. Those are all really cool games, and I am so happy they exist. Well, you know, most of them at least. But there is a big one that is missing from that list, and I am of course talking about the Ice Climbers sequel.
Please, just hear me out, please!
As is tradition with every new Nintendo console generation, a Smash Bros. Game should be on the horizon. But what will it look like? Well, I think there are a few possibilities, which I'd like to explore for this video. Also, can we just talk about how crazy it is that Smash Bros. Ultimate is turning 7?
Are you serious?
I don't know what kind of space-time distortion I slipped through to where Smash Bros. Ultimate is going to be 7 years old already. This cannot be real. Take me back to when this game first came out, when I wasn't, you know, an adult. The Switch 2 generation has come loaded with a bunch of new games and changes, with two of these things being relevant to this discussion. The first one is the Nintendo Switch 2 Edition games, where select games previously released on the Switch 1 get upgraded Switch 2 versions, with better performance and new content in some cases. I'll discuss this further in just a minute. The second is the announcement of a follow-up game to Kirby Air Ride from the GameCube, called Kirby Air Riders. Kirby Air Ride was directed by Masahiro Sakurai back then, and he is returning to the Kirby series to direct this title as well. I am very excited for this game, by the way. So, we now know what he's been working on, meaning a new Smash game might not be on the horizon for a little while longer. It is worth noting, however, that Kirby Air Riders is scheduled to release this year, so it is in fact at the end of its development. With the bulk of the game's development over with, maybe Sakurai's already working on, or at least in talks with, directing a new Smash game? A brand new Smash entry is a big endeavor, however, so even if it is being worked on in the early stages right now, given Sakurai's schedule, we might not hear any news on a new Smash game until late 2026 going into 2027. That is, if he does return to direct the series, which we don't have much reason to believe that he won't just yet. And that would kind of track with how Smash Ultimate was revealed for the Switch. It was revealed around the 1 year mark of the Switch's release, so I can definitely see it playing out similarly for the Switch 2 as well. We can also use the release time between Sakurai's other games as a reference. I'll use Kid Icarus Uprising and Smash 4 as an example. Watch my Kid Icarus video, please and thank you. Kid Icarus Uprising released in early 2012, with Smash 4 releasing late 2014, giving about, we'll say, a 2.5 to 3 year span of development between games. You can apply this elsewhere in Sakurai's catalog, like the time between Smash 4's DLC wrapping up in early 2016 and Smash Ultimate releasing late 2018. After Ultimate's DLC finished in 2021, Sakurai took a small break from game development and focused on making content on his YouTube channel. He did announce on his channel last year that he began work on a new project back, I think in like 2022, which we now know is Kirby Air Riders, and it is due to release this year. So, with Kirby Air Riders releasing this year in 2025, and using Sakurai's past games as a reference, we can expect a Smash reveal late 2026, early 2027. It's not a perfect metric to work off of, but it gives a good enough idea of what we can expect with Kirby Air Riders and a possible new Smash game. And speaking of a possible new Smash game, let's get into what that might look like. So, coming back to the Nintendo Switch 2 edition games, this might just be what we get with Smash Bros. An enhanced version of Smash Ultimate with some new stuff, maybe some graphical and performance boosts, a couple new characters and stages, an update to the Spirits mode, and there you go, there's your new Smash game. They can for sure add more than that, you know, really overhaul the experience with an even bigger roster, implement significant changes to character balance and online play, new modes, all of it. To that extent, it could transcend what Nintendo might consider a Switch 2 edition of Smash Ultimate. They could make it like a Smash Bros. Ultimate Deluxe. Now, I think this is very plausible, and it very well could be what we actually get for the Switch 2. It'll keep development time and costs low compared to making a brand new title, and Smash Ultimate already has a great foundation and framework, so I don't think too many people will be upset if they port over Ultimate with enough new content. This will ensure that everyone is still here, with the added bonus of more characters. As far as what characters they can add to Smash Ultimate Deluxe, there's a lot to pick from. I mean, obviously. I'm going to dedicate a section in this video all about possible new characters for whatever Smash game is next, so for now, let's just press on with the overall game speculation. Beyond new characters and stages, what else could we see from a Smash Ultimate Deluxe or Smash Ultimate Switch 2 edition? Well, in the same vein as new characters, we could get additional alternate costumes for each character, which is something many people have asked for already. Outside of color swaps, some alternate costumes or updated designs that come to my mind would be Dry Bowser, Armored Mewtwo, Tears of the Kingdom versions of Link, Zelda, and Ganondorf, the Metroid Dread and Prime 4 suits for Samus, the new Donkey Kong design, and the Leafling version of Olimar from Pikmin 4. I know there are many more to pick from, so feel free to share your ideas of alternate costumes in the comments. One idea for alternate costumes that I really like would be to bring back the character models from older games, like give all the Melee characters their old Melee models as alternate costumes for them. I think that would be really sick. Will they do this though? No. Other changes you could expect from a Smash Ultimate Deluxe would most certainly include balance changes. I'm no competitive player, I am very not good. I follow the scene pretty loosely and I'm not very knowledgeable on the current meta of the game. One thing I can tell you for sure is that Steve is pretty good. To be honest, I don't know what the changes for Steve would be, but I'm sure changes are warranted since he's been banned at tournaments before. He is a character in a platform fighter game that can create his own platforms almost anywhere he likes, which is pretty obviously busted. Steve's blocks can be used to edge trap players, stall off stage, create space to mine for more materials, and force opponents to approach. He can use them to extend his frustrating tilt chain combos and get crazy kills. Combine that with his strong attacks with good frame data, good recovery, edge guarding tools, his traps like his TNT and Anvil, his minecart, which is a good burst movement option and recovery tool, and a command grab. I mean, you can see why Steve is consistently ranked the #1 character in Smash Ultimate. You don't want this one character to define the meta and have this big of an impact on tournament play. He kinda fills that same spot as Smash Melee Fox, Smash Brawl Meta Knight, and Smash 4 Bayonetta. Maybe not to the same extent as them, but you know, he's really freaking good. It's also worth just looking at what other characters are dominating the meta and consistently placing high in tournaments and the tier lists, and then trying to find out exactly why they are so good. Are they overtuned? Do they have any weaknesses? Do they cover for their weaknesses too well? How is their matchup spread? How easy is it to excel with this character? I'm not suggesting to strive for a perfectly balanced game. I'm not sure I'd want all the characters to be on the same level, and it'd be hard to do that anyways with the immense variety of fighting styles seen in the 80+ characters. Some are just bound to be better than others. I think high and low tiers are very important to have, and Ultimate already does a serviceable job keeping the gap between the really good characters and the not so good characters relatively narrow, when at least compared to previous installments. But you also don't want one or two of those really good characters being too dominant and being an undeniable cut above the rest. So, as you'd probably expect, nerf the broken characters, help prop up some of the mid to low tier characters, maybe get rid of Mewtwo's tail hurt box, he needs it, and then just remove Min Min from the game. After that, we got a perfect Smash Bros. Game. I'm not going to go into specifics with the character changes. Like I said, I'm not very knowledgeable on all that stuff, but the last thing I'll say about this is, please make Ridley heavier. For me, please. Come on. One more thing I know a lot of people, including myself, want changed is the online mode in Smash Bros. Ultimate. The rampant lag, input delay, lack of game modes, and crappy preferred rules system all just leave a lot to be desired in the online department. I've heard again and again people wanting Nintendo to implement rollback netcode into Smash Ultimate's online play, and for years I was just like, yeah, that sounds great, never really knowing what it was. So I finally decided to look it up and actually find out what it is. It's kind of a technical concept that is still new to me, so feel free to correct me in the comments if I misspeak on it. So if you're like me and didn't actually know what rollback was, it's essentially a way to minimize network lag in an online game. For you, your inputs become localized and come out instantly, as if you're playing offline. At the same time, your opponent's actions are being predicted based on their previous animations and inputs. If the system predicts right, the gameplay continues to play like an offline match. If it predicts wrong and your opponent does something else, the system quickly rolls back to the correct state and displays your opponent's proper input. Obviously, all this is happening on your opponent's end too. It's like you're both playing these simulated offline experiences that are actively predicting each other's actions. It seems like a lot of systems can pretty accurately predict inputs to maintain an offline feel even if there is a poor network connection. In the cases of an incorrect prediction, the rollback often happens pretty seamlessly and does not interrupt the flow of the game too much. Compare this to the delay-based netcode of Smash Ultimate, where the game waits to receive inputs from all players and delays the match until all inputs are received. Combine that with a poor connection and the fact that most online players are probably not playing on Ethernet, including myself, I am in fact a part of the problem, and you get a pretty shabby online experience. I hope I explained that all accurately and in a way that is understandable. I don't want to linger too much longer on this section, but the last thing I'll mention in this potential Smash Ultimate Deluxe is an expansion in the Spirits mode. The Spirits mode as it stands is, it's just alright. It serves as this semi-story mode for the game and also includes limited time events with specialized fights based on different game franchises. There is not much value in it beyond the story mode, especially if you aren't the perfectionist or collector type. But as a whole, the story mode is just fine. Don't get me wrong, it's fun. I enjoy the dynamic battles, the team building with all these spirits, and the boss fights, but if you compare it to something like Smash Bros. Subspace Emissary, I mean, it's not even a competition really. That is a dedicated story mode with an actual narrative packed with charming cutscenes and awesome adventure levels. Given the overall grand scope of Smash Ultimate, I understand why the Spirits story mode had to be kept minimal. So, for a Smash Ultimate Deluxe, maybe expand on the story, add new areas and boss fights, and include the new characters. Or, better yet, just hear me out on this, completely overhaul it into something like the Subspace Emissary. That would be a dream come true. Just imagine it for a second. Alright, that's enough imagining. Don't waste your mental energy on it. It's not happening. In this next possibility, we will discuss a brand new entry to the series, Smash Bros. 6. Some of the things I would want or expect in this game we already discussed in the last section, like new characters, rollback netcode, and story mode, so I won't reiterate those points. Although I will mention in regards to a story mode, I'd want it to be closer to the Subspace Emissary than World of Light. Larger scale, with adventure levels, boss fights from across the IPs featured in the game, immersive cutscenes, maybe things like minigames or QuickTime events, and a satisfying reward and progression system. They could bring in the skill tree from World of Light though. For a potential Smash Bros. 6, we obviously now have a game that would be a departure from Smash Ultimate. It would look and play differently. To what extent, I don't know. I generally really like Ultimate's faster paced, aerial focused playstyle, although it can admittedly feel like input spam at some points, just throwing out moves, especially aerial attacks, non-stop. I mean, that just sounds like fighting games in a nutshell, but I'm sure you get what I mean. So, maybe they can dial it back a bit, make aerial spam less forgiving, put a focus on more calculated combat, while maintaining the general speed and aggression of Smash Ultimate. Look, I might just be talking out of my ass with this one. I really don't have a big issue with how Smash Ultimate plays, and I probably wouldn't mind whatever Sakurai and Nintendo do in Smash 6, whether they keep the fighting style from Ultimate more the same, or if they decide to take it in a different direction. A cause for major speculation whenever a new Smash game is on the way is the returning characters. Up until the release of Ultimate, there was always the big question of who's gonna get axed whenever a new Smash title was coming out. There is a genuine possibility that not all of the 89 characters in Smash Ultimate will be brought over to the next Smash game. It may be because of licensing issues, limited time and resources, or any number of reasons. We are obviously pretty spoiled with Smash Ultimate bringing back every fighter that has ever appeared in the series, but I'm not sure that is something we should take as a given just yet. It could very well be the case that not every character from Ultimate returns in Smash 6. The total number of fighters might even be less than Ultimate. Regardless, what I think needs more focus are the veteran fighters. Some of the characters that will more likely than not return could use some updating. Ganondorf is the first that comes to mind. He should get updated to his Tears of the Kingdom look and get a completely unique moveset separate from Captain Falcon. They partially achieved that in Ultimate, but not entirely, and Ganondorf deserves the overhaul. Sonic for sure needs a new moveset. All his special moves, aside from his up special, looking and acting near identical to one another, just does not feel right. I'm not a big Sonic fan. I don't know what more he's capable of, but I'm sure there are more creative things they can do with his kit. It'd be really cool to see Peach's moveset updated to reflect her most recent outing in Princess Peach Showtime, where she had all sorts of fun abilities. That would be awesome. Donkey Kong will likely be updated to his new design seen in Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong Bonanza. I really hope they use DK Bonanza as a framework for a possible new moveset for him. He deserves it. Some of the Echo Fighters come to mind as well. I think there should be more uniqueness between Pit and Dark Pit. You can keep Pit the same if you want, but Dark Pit has the potential to be his own character. I know he's a clone of Pit, but in Kid Icarus Uprising, Dark Pit's origin game, there are so many different kinds of weapons that he can pull from. He doesn't need to use the same types of weapons as Pit. Daisy can be quite different from Peach. She can bring so much more to the game instead of being a Peach clone. You can incorporate a lot of moves from the Mario sports games to help display her tomboyishness better. That would be great. Dark Samus does not need to be the same as Samus. It has many weird and crazy abilities from the Metroid Prime games, and we already saw the potential of Dark Samus as a unique Smash character when it was an assist trophy in Smash 4. On that note, Samus could use some updating too. I mentioned it earlier, but I'd like it for her base look to be updated to her Metroid Dread or Prime 4 appearance, and her moveset to reflect that as well. I don't think it needs to be a huge departure from what she has already, but they can bring in things like her psychic abilities shown off in Prime 4. She has a great zoner character playstyle, but it has remained unchanged since Smash 64 and could use some updating. This is just my opinion, but I don't like how integral the clown car is to Bowser Jr.'s character. He doesn't need to be in it all the time. It doesn't actually feel like I'm playing Bowser Jr. or any of the Koopalings. I think the clown car can be used for burst options or as a recovery tool, but it shouldn't be his whole character. If you make that change, you can then incorporate moves from the 2D Mario games as well as his paintbrush from Mario Sunshine. I think he needs it. There are a few unused Pikmin types that Olimar can add to his arsenal. You probably don't want to overcomplicate his playstyle if you include all of them in one character, so I would suggest adding a new Pikmin character that can command the Pikmin types that Olimar doesn't. This could be Louie or maybe Ochi, since he's the newest Captain S Mario-esque character in the series, whoever it is, I'd like that a lot. The last character I'll mention for reworks is Mario. I know he's like the plain generalist character that's easy to pick up, but come on, Mario has so many things. We got Cappy, the new power-ups from Mario Wonder, the new abilities from Mario Wonder, and so many other things from the older games. You don't have to make him some crazy technical specialized character, but again, he's largely remained unchanged for the entire series. The last change to his moveset was Flood, replacing the Mario Tornado as his down special in Smash Brawl, and he's gotten a lot more to work with since then. There are many more reworks to talk about, but I think I got my point across. Let me know of any character changes or overhauls you'd like to see in the comments. The last thing I'll mention in this section are the game modes. The Smash series has featured many side game modes to put a twist on the general gameplay loop. We've had Classic Mode, Target Practice, the Event Matches, the Home Run Contest, All-Star Smash, Boss Rush, Squad Strike, Stage Builders, and more. Bring them all back, or at least some of the fan favorite ones, and come up with some new, fresh ones too. This helps immensely with the single player aspect of the game and just keeps players around for longer. I think it would be cool to apply some incentive for playing these modes. You can set challenges or milestones in each one and earn rewards after completing those challenges. We kinda have that already with the challenge board in Ultimate, but you don't really get much out of them, and they don't really compel you to complete them. In Ultimate, you can earn Mii costumes, music tracks, spirits, and some of the in-game currencies. How about we expand on all of that in Smash 6? More challenges for single player and multiplayer. Maybe they add more or cycle them out with updates, and come up with more rewards. You can carry over the rewards in Ultimate, but add more meaningful ones, like additional alternate costumes for the fighters, cosmetics for your online profile, trophies if they make a return, the custom moves if they make a return, and maybe things like different announcer packs and KO animations, kind of like how Multiverses did it.
What did you just say?
Obviously, I wouldn't want any monetization or paywalls behind any of this stuff. You'll already be paying for probably a $70, maybe now $80, $90, $100 game. Hell, the sky's the limit. Let's shoot for $120. Why the hell not? Anyway, it should all be earned through playtime and completing challenges in a way that doesn't feel too grindy and is satisfying. This is all in a way to keep those dopamine hits coming and keeping casual players hooked to the game longer. The last option I'll go over is probably the most interesting, and it is a reboot of the series, a whole reset button. Downsize the scope, revamp the entire thing, cut the cast significantly, like down to the size of Brawl or maybe even Melee. This is my general broad stroke vision of it. Focus mainly on Nintendo IP, with maybe a few prominent third-party characters, and update all the movesets and looks on the veteran fighters. Create an actual, in-depth, compelling story mode with the smaller roster, make the game look sort of retro and cartoony. I like the direction they're taking with the graphics in Mario Wonder, Mario Kart World, and Donkey Kong Bonanza, so they could opt for that. And as far as game mechanics and playstyle, they should make it quite distinct from Ultimate. They can really refine it. I'm not sure in what way, but enough to feel different. They can slow the pace of the game down, focus more on grounded combat, add some new mechanics. I don't know. Hell, they can intentionally allow for some crazy tech like we see in Melee, though that probably won't happen, but it's just all up in the air. I think that's what makes the possibility of a reboot for the series so interesting, and probably the most exciting possibility to me. What would it look like? It's unprecedented for the series, and it would make for this insane distinction from Smash Ultimate. It's also a very cool way to answer the question of, what do you do after something like Smash Ultimate? Well, you just bring it back down, return to the roots, rework the whole picture, rebuild it with a new vision. You can still bring in some of the updates I mentioned earlier, like the challenges and reward system and the rollback netcode. It will all serve to really set this game apart from the rest. This option intrigues me the most because it is the most significant shift from Smash Ultimate, but I'm not too sure if it's what I want the most. Smash today has become a celebration of not just Nintendo games, but gaming as a whole. People have now come to expect from the series these crazy reveals from franchises outside of Nintendo, and I'm of course guilty of that. We've all in some capacity been conditioned to think that. If you take all those internet-breaking character reveals away or downsize them significantly, I think you'll upset a lot of players. They want to see the series progress and continue to build off the previous installments by somehow achieving more than what its predecessors did. This might just make for a worse game anyways. There is such a thing as too wide of a scope. At some point, these expectations could get quite unrealistic, and I think we're approaching that point with whatever comes after Smash Ultimate. That would make a reboot quite the curveball, shattering much of the player base's expectations. It would be an adjustment for sure, but it might be what the series needs to sustain itself for years to come. And I welcome it. Whatever Nintendo and Sakurai do, if he returns to the series, I will welcome it. So that concludes the overall game speculation part of this video. Now I'd like to, for a short while, discuss the new characters for whatever game comes next. I think a good place to start would be to look at the characters that were delegated to Mii costume status. These comprise some of the most fan-requested characters for the series anyways, so let's take a look. I'm not going to list all of them, since there are quite a lot, so I'm just going to mention the more notable ones that a lot of people really want in the game. I don't think anyone will be sad if Springman doesn't get in. We got Skull Kid, Knuckles, Tails, Doomslayer, Dante, Tifa, Barrett, the Dragonborn, Chibi Robo, Geno, and Proto Man, to name a few contenders. Skull Kid would make for a great new Legend of Zelda fighter. He's been one of the most requested characters from the IP. 5 out of the 6 Zelda reps we have are variations of Link and Zelda, so the series definitely needs more diverse representation in Smash. We for sure need a new Sonic character, whether it be Tails, Knuckles, Shadow, Amy, or Eggman. The series does deserve at least one more rep. Doomslayer would be one of my personal picks for another third-party character. I'm not sure if he is the best choice, he does come from a mature game series, but he's got a diverse range of weapons and abilities, and he represents a long legacy of games that helped pioneer the FPS genre. Plus, the new Doom The Dark Ages game just came out, which gives Doomslayer even more weapons and abilities. I seriously would love it if he makes it to Smash. We can for sure get a From Software IP in Smash now, what with Elden Ring being brought over to Switch 2, as well as the shocking reveal of the brand new Nintendo exclusive Bloodborne 2 but not really from Soft game, the Duskbloods. On top of that, I'm pretty sure Dark Souls is on the Switch already, so it's not a far-fetched idea. I nominate Alexander, or Mesmer, or Melania, or just the tarnished protagonist from Elden Ring, but we could very well get a character from the Duskbloods since it is a console-exclusive property. From Soft games and the Souls games in general have absolutely blown up in the last few years. They are such a popular genre of games, and I think they deserve to be represented in Smash Bros. So there you go. I've been playing through Hollow Knight for the first time, which has been an amazing experience. Nintendo's making a big push for the IP, showing off Hollow Knight Silksong for the Switch 2. I think it'd be really cool to see the Knight or Hornet show up in Smash. I would love to see them as playable characters, but even if one or the other shows up as an assist trophy, that'd be awesome. You can't talk about new Smash characters without mentioning Geno, one of the most requested characters that hasn't made it in yet. Mario RPG, his game of origin, got a remake not too long ago, and we of course have the Geno Mii costume already. I'd say he still deserves a spot in the game, just from the fans supporting his addition to the roster for years now. Waluigi has probably been the most hilariously mistreated potential character for a Smash game. He is a prominent and popular character that might be the most requested for Smash, and time again he has managed to fall just short of being a character, always staying at assist trophy status. I think Sakurai is doing it now out of spite. I honestly think it's really funny, and I almost want that to continue, but I think he should finally have his time in the light. I mentioned earlier that I'd like a new captain character from Pikmin that uses the Pikmin types Olimar doesn't. Louie or Ochi or whoever it is can have the red, blue, and yellow Pikmin, but instead of the purple and white Pikmin, they use the rock and ice ones, and maybe they can use the glow Pikmin for their recovery instead of the winged Pikmin. We got Pikmin 4 not too long ago. It was an incredible game, and I'd love to see more Pikmin in Smash. It would be cool to see some other characters from Kid Icarus show up, like Viridi or Magnus, or maybe even Hades. Smash could always use more villains. Do I think any of them will be added? No, but I really like Kid Icarus Uprising, and Sakurai directed that game too, so he's had to have thought about it at least once. If you'd like to know more about the Kid Icarus franchise and how amazing Kid Icarus Uprising is, be sure to check out my series overview video from a few months back. I put a lot of time and research into that one, and I appreciate any support that video can get. Metroid Prime 4 is going to be making waves soon on the Switch too, and I think it's right to have Psylocke join the fray in Smash as another villain character. He is going to be a prominent threat in the game, game, so it makes sense. He'll help diversify the Metroid cast currently in the game too, with 3 of them sharing the name of Samus. This definitely isn't the first time somebody has thought of this, but I have a funny idea for a new character. Obviously, we'll have Pikachu in the next game, and if Pichu makes a return, I think we should just complete the evolution line and bring Raichu in the fight. It can serve as a heavier, slower version of Pikachu that does more damage and has more range. I don't know, I just like that idea a lot for some reason. More likely than not, we'll get a new Pokemon fighter that is relevant to whatever is the most recent entry in the series. It could be something from the upcoming Legends ZA game, though we will be revisiting an older region in the game which we already have a rep from. So it could be a Pokemon from the Gen 10 games, which may come out around the same time a new Smash does. Bandana D from Kirby, Crystal from Star Fox, and Funky Kong or Dixie Kong are all pretty good picks for some of the legacy IPs in Smash. I'd also like to see some more gaming mascots join the fight as well, namely Spyro and Crash Bandicoot. We'll probably see more FGC representation in the next game as well. It's already pretty well represented in Ultimate, but I can see them branching out into more games like Mortal Kombat. The games are on Switch, so it's for sure possible. You know, add Scorpion or Sub-Zero, or a more obscure pick if you don't want to be too obvious. I'd like to see Sub-Zero though. I can also see another Street Fighter character joining as well, probably Chun-Li. I don't know if I love or hate this idea, but regardless, I think it would be hilarious. Get Fortnite Jonesy in the game, or Erpili, or have the alternate costumes be some of the most popular skins from Fortnite. Make this Steve 2.0, but with guns, and not as busted. Fortnite is like the game ever, so why not? Smash is a celebration of gaming, throw Fortnite in there. Let's do it. Look, there are many characters to pick from, and I think I've gone through enough of them in this video. You guys let me know in the comments what characters you want to see in the next Smash game. And with that, I will end this video here. Whatever we get from the Smash series in the somewhat maybe near future, I can say with certainty that I am very excited for it. I can't wait for the hype season for it to start and the speculation to kick into high gear. To me, it is some of the most fun and memorable times in gaming, and I just know it's going to be a good time. I know this is already a pretty tired video concept, but I've had this type of video planned since I started this channel, and I'm very excited to finally get it out there. Be sure to like the video if you enjoyed it. It'll help the video a ton, and it'll let me know that you want more content like this. Please consider subscribing, it would mean a great deal to me. 3,000 subscribers is on the horizon, and I'd really appreciate you helping me to reach that goal. Comment below any ideas you have for the next Smash game, or anything in general. I'd love to hear your thoughts. But with that, I'd like to thank you so much for watching until the end. Stay tuned for more, and please, no min for Smash 6.